episode of the Squirrel's Den Coaches Show. I'm Brent Nelson, joined by Travis Lamar, head wrestling coach Dusty Renner, and his assistant Mark Roe.
On this week's episode, we're going to get to know these two a little bit better. We'll end the show with some of our famous rapid-fire questions that will make these guys squirm maybe a little bit, and get their take on what this season's going to be like and what their team looks like as they've got practice going for about a week now.
All right, guys, let's get to know you a little bit. Coach Renner, let's start with you.
I'm Coach Renner. I'm originally from Britain, South Dakota. I went to college in Valley City. Shortly after that, I got a teaching job at the school up north, Northern Cass. After that, I met my wife, and we currently live in Mapleton. We have 2 kids, one actual human. Our first was a fur baby, and our second is now 10 months old. And I've been in Central Cass for 6 years here, and I've got the opportunity to coach track, wrestling, and football for the past 6 years, and this is going to be the first year as head coach.
All right, let's get to know Mark Roe. Okay. Who is Mark Roe?
Okay. So this is my 4th year teaching at Central Cass. Prior to teaching here, I taught in Seal, North Dakota for 3 years. Graduated from NDSU with my bachelor's, originally from West Fargo. My wife also teaches at Central Cass. We love being squirrels. We currently live in West Fargo. She allows me to coach for about the first 6 months of the school year. I coach junior high football, do some volunteer stuff with the varsity football program, and then go right into wrestling. So from August to March, we're pretty busy, but I love doing it. I've coached with you junior high football the past 4 years now, and Coach Renner, I've been this is my 4th year as an assistant coach with the wrestling program.
All right, so let's get into your wrestling background a little bit. Coach Roe, why don't you share with us what you got from the past?
Sure. So I started wrestling in 2nd grade. I wanted to be a hockey player when I was a young kid. All of my elementary age friends were hockey players. I brought the hockey flyer home to mom and dad. Obviously, hockey is they knew it was a pretty expensive sport to get into. As a kid, I had a lot of energy and such, and mom and dad wanted me to do something. Got me set up with West Fargo Youth Wrestling, and I just kind of fell in love with it. And I wrestled all the way through high school. Most of my high school career, I wrestled under Coach Cale Dangerud, who had a very successful coaching career. Shout out to Cale, I love that guy to pieces. Was a part of a lot of successful teams. We won a state championship in 2006. We produced some D1 guys, and I got to be a part of that. So that was a real cool experience for me. When I went out to Steel and got that job, we had a co-op with Napoleon High School, who's had a very successful program in North Dakota over the years. Didn't really find an opportunity to get into wrestling there just because of the way the co-op worked and distance and interest in Steel. So once I got to Central Cass, I knew of the program here. Just being from West Fargo, I knew of some of the stuff that Trav had done with previously with wrestlers, and I was able to get hired on right away as a volunteer. And then over the past couple of years, the 2nd year I had a contract position, and then going forward now I've been a contracted assistant coach.
For your job.
The past couple of years, okay, and Coach Renner has done a great job here the past couple of years too as a co-head.
All right, Coach Renner.
I started out again like Coach Roe. I was pretty little. I don't remember what grade I started out, but again I fell in love with it. It's a competitive sport where it's you versus somebody else. It's you either win or you lose. It's pretty cut and dry. There's nothing in between. So I got to wrestle all through high school under my dad. He was our head coach. We had a smaller team, so we didn't have a ton of success over here like the Class A school guys. But it was fun. We wrestled all through high school. We had successes, and out of college, I went to Valley City. They obviously don't have wrestling, and I got hired at Northern Cass. Once I was at Northern Cass, I started getting involved with their youth program and talking with Trav about youth stuff and getting that going for them. And shortly after that, a couple years later, I ended up getting a job here at Castleton, and I've been coaching for the Squirrels here for about 6 years, a couple years as a co-head coach, and the rest as an assistant coach. And this is the first year for me being a head coach.
So let's get into right now. First year as head coach, by yourself, taking over for the legend, Travis Lamar. What do you think the biggest difference is from co-head coach, assistant coach to now you're on your own?
The biggest difference is all the extra duties, the stuff you don't see in the wrestling room. It's the paperwork, it's lining everything up, the schedules, the motel rooms, it's just all the small details of getting everything organized so that when you get to practice, everything's already set for you. And again, I'm in Trav's office probably every other day asking questions about a million different things.
All right, guys. So, we're going to talk a little bit about what you guys have, as far as your season outlook, what you think your lineup's going to look like, stuff like that. I know it's super early. I mean, you guys have had a week of practice. But if you will, just kind of talk, Coach Renner, if you would, talk about what last week's, what it looked like for you, and just kind of how you've started the season off so far.
Yeah, so we started last Monday. We have right around 40 kids, so the room is pretty packed. Now, when we look at the numbers, we have about 20 junior high kids, 20 high school kids, and we have probably about 10 kids who've never wrestled before, so that kind of ties into a little bit of a challenge where you got to find a way to work them in with the practice routine, along with making sure the older guys are getting the reps that they need to. So the last couple of weeks or week and a half, we've had a great showing at practice. The kids are working hard. We're usually running, we're lifting a couple days a week, but overall the kids are working hard. We're showing technique, but we're really conditioning, making sure that when we come to this first duel on December 3rd that the guys are in shape, they're ready to go for their first match.
So you talk about your first duel coming up and stuff like that. Your lineup is obviously going to look a lot different than the lineup that we had last year. We graduated a ton of seniors, but your cupboard's not bare. I mean, you got some quality kids coming back. You've got some good young kids in there. If the two of you would, kind of talk about what your lineup is going to kind of look like going into that first duel.
So we'll have a full team. I mean, we have enough guys that we're going to be able to fill spots. It might not be everybody's at their perfect weight. There's some guys who are probably going to give up some weight because they don't weigh what the weight class is, but we're going to be able to fill a team. But we're going to have a lot of young guys in there who, have seen varsity experience, but not a full varsity season. So it's going to be an eye-opener for a lot of those guys.
Okay, so the next question then will be for the head coach. The assistant to the head coach, Mark Roe. Coach Renner's talking about the young kids. Obviously, last year when he was working as the co-head coach, spent most of his time with the varsity. You kind of had more of a role with the younger kids. Who do you see in that younger crew that's going to have to step in and kind of fill those voids at that varsity level to make sure that this team continues on where you guys want it to be?
Sure. So a lot of those kids from last year, we have a lot of talent at those. I know we're young, but we have a lot of raw talent there. A name that comes to my mind is Josiah Crandall. Joey works really hard in the room. As a younger wrestler, it's to his advantage that his weight's still pretty much down to where it was last year. We kind of project him right now, filling in at 113. And I think he'll be a name right there at the end of the year where he's probably qualifying for state. I know he was really close last year. I think he was one match away. But I can see him going to state and making some waves there. He works really hard in practice. He is one, I think, to look out for. At 106, we have a couple kids right now that are all kind of honing in on that spot. I know your boy Peyton is kind of looking at it maybe. We have Brady Peterson down there, a handful of others. And I think all those kids they've been wrestling a long time, and they're all pretty talented, and they work really hard in the room. I think all those guys are kind of eyeing that same spot, which like Coach Renner said, the one big advantage we have as a Class B team in our region is we shouldn't have a problem filling out a full lineup. And I know in Class B that's something that a lot of teams struggle to do because you're giving up in a dual meet, you're giving up a forfeit at a weight class, and right now we kind of project filling in. Maybe as far as a high school guy who was more of a JV guy last year, and I know he filled in varsity a little bit towards the end of the year, Jaden Bartz is super athletic. He's super strong, and I think he's somebody that maybe towards the end of the year he might make some waves too.
What's your upper weights look like? I mean, you guys pretty much graduated everybody up there. I mean, with Moucher gone, Merrigan gone, Ellison gone, just keep naming them off. Gross, all that. What's your upper weights going to look like?
So in that middle weight area, 52, 60, we'll have 2 returning qualifiers. AOT qualified last year. He'll be, 52, 60, somewhere in there. Jeremiah Sullivan, he was a runner-up last year. He'll be right in there once he's healed up. From that point, we have a couple younger kids. Jordan Preston's in there, Anthony Houle, Garrett Haugen. We have one newcomer from Northern, Cass Wyatt is his name. He'll be in there, and then filling in at heavyweight's going to be Big Dill. So, we're really young right after AOT and Sully, but again, those are guys who, have been in the room for a couple of years. They know how this works. They've all had a couple varsity matches. So I think as the season gets on, once we get some momentum with those guys and they figure out how this stuff actually works, I think we'll have a little success there too.
Yeah, I agree. Just watching those kids grow up from youth all the way up to where they're at now, you can see them grow in leaps and bounds. So, a couple names that we haven't talked about. I know you talked about Sully. He's out right now with an injury. I think we all expect big things out of him this year. 2 names I know that haven't come up would be Deutsch and Junior. Tote. What do you guys see from those 2 so far this early in the season?
Junior's right. He's at that border. He's not sure which weight he wants to go to yet. He's under 52. But again, he works hard. He drills with AOT and the coaches during practice, and I think that benefits him a ton. We're breaking down his technique a little bit, trying to hone in on some specific skills, but he's so athletic and so fast that, there's a lot of just raw talent that he has. The other one, Jake's in between a couple weight classes as well. We also have a coach working with him. Again, he's a runner-up kid. Super talented, lightweight guy, so trying to get him quality practice partners is really important for him. I know he's got some high expectations and goals, and our job as coaches is to hopefully help him fulfill those.
Okay, so we've talked about how young your team is and all of that, but obviously you guys have to have some guys that you figure are going to be leaders. We talked a little bit off camera that we don't have, or you guys don't have captains set up yet. If you would, just kind of talk about your captain's process. And, Mark, go ahead. Tell us kind of how that goes and how the guys would be selected as captains for this year's squad.
Sure. So something that we implemented a few years ago, I know a lot of our sports programs now do it at Central Cass, is we actually have an application process. And it's kind of like something that goes along with some of our school culture initiatives, where we want our team captains not only to be out there for a coin flip or motivating guys in the room. We want them to be leaders in the school and in the community. And so one of the things that we started doing here a couple of years ago is we have this application process. So and we put it out online and we make it available to everybody who is out for wrestling, where they can apply for being a captain. And there's some good questions on there that are very thought-provoking about leadership skills, what you do when the going gets rough, people that motivate you, and ultimately, what is your goal in being a captain. So the kids fill that out. Coach Renner and I and the other assistant coaches will sit down and interview those kids here. We're doing those here before Thanksgiving. Our hope is to have our captains set before then. And it's something that I think has been super beneficial, not only for our sports teams, but also for our school culture.
No, that's good. I know, for me, the one thing that I took out of those and the ones that I've been involved in is, the first application or the first interview process I ever went for was for a job.
Right.
So to have that prior to applying to get out in the real world, I think is a great lesson for them. Last thing we'll talk about here before we kick it over to the fan favorite rapid fire is why don't each one of you kind of give us what you think your prognostication of the season is going to be? Tell us where what your goals are for this team and where you hope to land come February.
In talking to some of the older guys, I know, with their application process, a couple have talked about as a team goal, trying to get back to the state duels. And I think that's a phenomenal goal. Obviously, that's going to be our goal every year. And, with this team being young and having so much inexperience, it isn't a really high standard for a goal. But as we go, I think we're going to really start to get some momentum, and those guys are going to gain experience. And so once we get to that end of the season, that's where that goal, I think, for us, we're going to have a chance to achieve that. So, and then, trying to qualify as many guys individually as we can. That's always our goal.
Yeah, and like we've kind of touched on it, I mean, it's well noted that we're a young team. We lost a lot of quality seniors last year, and there's no doubt about that. But the thing about this sport is, in the 6 minutes you're on that mat, a lot of things can happen. And whether we're a young team or an experienced team, I think we're going to go out there and we're going to compete every time. Our guys work really hard in the room. They're willing to listen. They're willing to be coached. And I think at the end of the year, I think we're right there for state duels. And I think that's a fabulous goal that we should have as a team. And obviously placing some more guys. We've had some guys that have qualified here the past couple of years. Like an AOT for one has qualified the past few years, and we want to get him on the podium. A guy like Jaden Bards, who just started wrestling, we want to get him on the podium. Junior Tote, want to get him on the podium, and then ultimately if we can get Sully and Jake Deutsch on the top, if we can, that's where we want to finish. But I mean, I think right now our biggest thing is just improving every day and continuing to build our program.
No, I think that's great. So, if you would, who are your seniors this year? I know we've talked about Sully, we talked about Junior. Who else you got as your upperclassman right now?
Outside of those two seniors, we have Granimal. Granimal's holding down that third senior spot. He's going to sneak into the lineup somewhere in that 30s, 20 range. Outside of that, those are our three seniors that we have, and it's a smaller senior class, but they've been wrestling for a long time, and again, we look at them for our leadership and experience, and they're the guys that are going to be leading our team.
Yeah, I mean, Grant's been close, right? I mean, he was close last year. I think this is the year he breaks through for you guys. Honestly, I do. So, good luck to you guys this season. Those of you at home that want to come and check this team out, the Friday before we go to Christmas break, Class A Power West Fargo Packers coming to town, along with our big rival, Pembina County North, coming down for a little triangular. Come and check these guys out. If you're willing to travel, first match up in Grafton, where they wrestle Roseau, Minnesota, in Grafton, North Dakota.
All right, guys, rapid fire. This is the fan favorite. Mr. Roe, you've been a feature on the rapid fire, but this is your chance for redemption.
Absolutely.
All right. Coach Lamar, why don't you get us started here?
All right, I'll start off. I got a question for you, Mr. Rowe. Who would play you in a movie?
Oh, my. Mark Wahlberg. He's jacked and he's handsome just like me.
Would that movie be a comedy or a drama?
For sure a comedy. I'm a funny guy.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. I don't know if I'd agree, but that's interesting.
Coach Renner, who uses more hair product in a year? You or a middle school girl?
Oof. It's a tough one. Hair's a big deal. You got to have good hair. I can't look great with a bald head like Coach Lamar, so I'm going to go with myself on that one.
All right. I mean, middle school, that's huge for a middle schoolers. Putting that hair gel in or mousse or I don't even know what they do.
I spent a lot of road trips with Mr. Renner. I agree. It's definitely it.
And you have the middle school girl, so you can verify.
Trust me, it's it.
Yeah.
It's it.
That's funny.
All right, Mr. Rowe. I'm going to let you get a little payback on somebody here, okay?
Okay.
All right. I want your best Mr. Madison Norman impression.
I don't have a coffee cup in front of me. Hey there, hi there, test today. It's impossible. No one's passed. Test today. He has a test today. You have a test today. Test today. Test today. Hey, did I tell you it's test day? Test day.
I feel like I'm in this class right now.
So do I. I do. It would have been, you would have sold it too if you had the coffee cup. That would have been huge. Yeah.
I forgot to study. Sorry.
You're not going to pass.
Coach Renner, what is your spirit animal?
I'm a peacock.
Peacock.
You got to let me fly.
That's like, what's that movie, The Other Guys? You're Mark Wahlberg. You're Will Ferrell. Right?
That's why we're interviewing
The
together.
Other Guys.
We're interviewing as a team.
There you go.
No tuxedos.
That makes sense. That makes sense now. All right, Mr. Rowe, last one here, okay? Which 3 people, anybody, alive or dead, are you inviting over for supper, and why are you choosing those 3 people?
Any people I want?
Anyone.
Alive or dead? Okay.
Alive or dead.
Okay. Man, well, I'm inviting your boy Jimmy Hoffa because I want to know what happened to him. And I know you have a weird fascination with him, so I'd invite Jimmy Hoffa over for dinner.
I'm just surprised you remember his name.
Jimmy Hoffa, leader of the Teamsters, the Brotherhood of the Teamsters. I'm probably inviting him. Alive or dead? I would probably invite over, I'm a history teacher, right? So I'd probably invite over a famous president or one of our more well-known ones. I'd probably invite over Abe Lincoln, just to ask him kind of some of the things that were going through his head. I mean, he made some real tough leadership decisions, which I know might not be the most comedic response, but I'd be really interested to know. And then, you know what, I'm probably inviting somebody who's going to give me a good laugh for one reason or the other. I'm inviting you, Mr. Lamar. Yeah, I'm inviting you because you're always good for a good one-liner or 10.
It's not that interesting, though. I mean,
No, but he knows I'll eat whatever he puts out there for supper, so.
that's true.
Yeah, it's well documented. Well
Just
documented.
getting on his good side. I get it. All right, this is the most important one. Coach Renner, who would win in a wrestling match between Mr. Roe and Mr. Bachman?
So we talked about this a little bit before. I'm picturing cage match,
Okay.
but obviously that's gonna be too many things going on. You guys already talked to Phil, so we got 2 ambulances ready.
Yeah.
Man, height advantage goes to Bach.
Weight advantage.
Weight advantage goes to Bach. Wrestling skills going to go to Coach Roe. Man. Stamina. I think I'm giving Coach Roe the stamina, so we're about even. In front of a hometown Squirrel crowd, I got to go with my assistant coach here, Coach Roe. I think he's going to outlast Papa Bach.
I mean, we're going to make this happen, so lucky for all the fans, you're going to get to see it. But
You're going to have to bring your wallets, though.
yeah.
We're charging admission for this.
This is pay-per-view
Not
special.
A free show. Not a free show. All right, guys. How's it feel? You went through the rapid fire. Not too bad?
Not too bad.
Survived.
All right.
Can we do a couple shout-outs? I know that I don't know if we ever do those on the Coaches Show, but I have a couple that I'd like to do if that's okay with everybody.
Go for it.
Taking
Thank
over
you.
the show, trying to take over head coach.
Yep.
Have at it, man.
Thank you guys, Coach Lamar and Coach Nelson, for having us over and allowing us to do this. Thank you to our sports boosters. They do a lot for our athletic programs and such, and our administration has always been very supportive of our athletic program. So thank you to them, and then thank you to the parents as well for entrusting Coach Renner and I with your young men here for the next few months as we gear up for our wrestling season.
Well said. That'll do it for this week's episode of the Squirrel's Den Coaches Show. Thank you to Coach Renner and Coach Roe for stopping by. Tune in next week as we talk with Coach Roe's opponent in the soon-to-be-named showdown, Coach Jay Bachman. And he'll talk to us about the girls' basketball team. They started practice this week, so we'll get the lowdown from him. So, for Travis Lamar, Brett Nelson, thanks for watching.